Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Tanks. Today we have part 3 of my ranking tier 8 premium tanks video. We were having some technical issues at the end of the last video where basically the website is being really slow. I think that's just because of the amount of things that are on the tier list. I've closed all the other tabs, everything like that. I may have to close tanks if possible. I've also removed the no opinion tanks and just chucked them at the bottom because I don't know if it's actually the tanks being on here that's causing the issue or what. But I'm going to try and push through. If we have to, I may have to stop the video and literally like restart this tab and just start like from the Chimera. So you might not get to see this, or if at some point it all of a sudden changes, then we will go from there. So starting us off in this video, like I said in the previous videos, obviously fairly self-explanatory what all the tiers mean. This is my opinion, but, you know, if you think I'm wrong, comment that I'm wrong. And also, I have a no opinion tab, which is basically, it means I don't really actually have an opinion on the tank because I haven't played it or I don't know enough about it. So first things first, we have the Chimera, which is going straight up in good tank. Hey, that was pretty quick. It moved straight away. Going straight up in good tank, 440 alpha on a medium, really nice. Like, it's a really good tank. I do massively enjoy playing the Chimera, which is very nice. Turtle, I would probably say is a decent tank. The gun is really nice, but the chassis lets it down. It's relatively slow. The armor isn't as good as I think it should be, considering what it's like. It is a fairly new addition to my garage, and when I say fairly new addition, I mean a very new addition. So I haven't actually played a huge amount of games in it. T25 Pilot. I'm so sorry, Pilot. This is actually being really fast now. I don't really know what's going on. Right, I'm gonna fill this back up. Maybe my computer's doing something in the background. I don't really know. I don't know these things. Well, we're doing T25 Pilot. I hate to say it, but it's below average. I used to love this thing. This used to be one of my favourite tanks in the game, but it's just just not particularly good these days. It's slow for what it is. It doesn't have any armor. The gun is meh. It's below average. Kraslovsky, I would say is decent. It used to be like great, but it's just so big. People just fire gold, track it, get around it, and the gun isn't particularly good either. So, yeah, I would say that's there. Patriot, great tank, in my opinion. It's a good all-round tank. It's got decent armor. It's decently mobile, and the gun is pretty decent. Definitely my number one recommendation as a premium tank to buy for bonds in the bond store. This would be my first pick. It is a really good all-round pick, especially for bonds, and it's definitely a tank worth having. Great credit maker as well, so definitely up there in great tanks. TS5, I'm going to put this down in decent. Similar kind of reasoning for the Turtle, although I would say it's probably more towards the top end, more towards good tank than the Turtle. The gun is insane. The armor is really good, a lot better than the Turtles. However, the lower plate is still very weak, and a lot of people go through it. Obviously, you get its side; it's weak as anything. But it's just the mobility that lets it down. Doesn't allow it to be any higher than that. Renegade. I think this is where a lot of people disagree with me, but I personally think it's a great tank. 360 alpha with really decent all-round gun stats. The armor is okay. I'm not going to say it's great. If you want something a bit better armor, probably Patriot. But I'd say the gun is better on the Renegade. Having 360 punch is much nicer than 240. Still with really decent DPM as well, which is very nice. And the mobility as well is pretty good. I'd say it's just generally a very good all-round tank to play. What's that? The T95 E2, below average. It's slow. The gun's not great. No, not really many people have it anyway. The armor's not particularly good. It's just it's not even really worth talking about because I don't actually know how you're going to get it and if it will ever be on sale or if it will be in the Bond store or if it's still an option for the... It was the old recruitment tank. I do have it. Like, personally, I do have it. Wherever the hell it is. Here. Wait, is it that? Oh, wait, hang on. I might be talking a load of old bollocks here. Oh, no, the T95 set. What's this, then? Oh, is this the T1 LPCD MP3 thing? I've got egg all over my face right now. Yes! Oh, at least I guessed the tank right in the end. Okay, that instantly goes into no opinion then, because I don't actually know anything about the bloody tank. T77. Good tank. Very good tank, actually. Real nice gun when it's loaded. The burst damage output is really, really nice. Armor's pretty shit. Mobility's average to good, I would say. It's the DPM that lets it down. If it had a bit better DPM, it'd probably be a great tank, but the DPM really does let it down, and it shall remain in good tank. T42, I don't think it's a particularly great tank, but again, it's going in no opinion because I haven't played it. I don't really know what it's all about. T34, I'm going to say is average. Or is it decent? No, I'm going to say it's average. Been in the game so long, so everybody knows what it's all about. Everybody knows it's a big gun. It's got a slow reload. The gun is nice. I hit him for 400 with the pen. It's nice. The things that let it down, the gun handling is terrible. And the thing is, it used to be that it had fairly terrible gun handling, like aim time, because it had such a big gun, such a big punch. It was one of the punchiest heavies at tier 8. Hit so hard. It doesn't anymore. And it's still balanced around the fact that that's the case. The pen is really nice still. But yeah, it's just not good. Like, it's balanced around 2015. It's balanced around the really long reload and the really long aim time, the poor dispersions, everything like that. Is aimed around the fact that it does the most damage at tier 8 for a heavy tank in a single punch with some of the best pen, 10 degrees gun depression, good armor, but that's fairly average these days. The tank itself is still average. It's not awful, but I can't put it any higher than that. The M6 A2E1, the Mutant. It's also average. In my opinion, the gun's not particularly great. It does get preferential, but the gun's not particularly great. The side armor's not great. The armor itself, this thing, if it would have still been as rare as it was, would still be a decent tank because people wouldn't know where to shoot it. But since Wargaming have now released it a couple of times, when a tank's rarer, if it relies on its armor, it is instantly better because less people know where to shoot it. As soon as Wargaming release it, people, if they meet it more than once and bounce off it like more than one time, start to go into Tanks GG, Tomato GG, or whatever, and start looking at armor models, and then tanks become poorer. So back with the rarity factor, I would probably say this thing was decent. Now it's average, probably even slipping down further and further because of just selling it again and again and again. Oh, career pattern. One of my favourite tanks back in the day. I'm going to say it's average. Mobility is trash. Like, actually, it's not. It might have had a buff, actually, since last I played it. I don't know. View range is good. Turret armor is okay. But the view range is really good. You have got 10 degrees gun depression. You can just expose your turret, and the gun is average. The mobility is average. So we'll put it in average. Super Pershing. I'm putting it up in good tank, and I don't care what anybody says. Words can't bring me down. No. Yeah, it's a good tank. since the buffs, like, once upon the Super Pershing has been buffed enough, sorry, not nerfed, but buffed so many times. Back when I first got it, it was my first ever Tier 8 Premium, so I feel like I'm coming from a good standpoint here when, a solid place of opinion. It used to have 170 standard pen, really, really, like, 9 horsepower per ton, really bad horsepower per ton. It wasn't great. Now they've buffed that. It's relatively mobile these days, especially compared to what it used to be. The armor is still really nice. You actually have to aim. And the gun is decent, especially with the premium rounds, which have always been good, like 258 APCR, I'm pretty sure. It's a good tank. It genuinely is a good tank. And, yeah, it doesn't really struggle with... And it has preferential matchmaking, but it doesn't struggle with the downsides that have a lot of preferential matchmaking, because it has actually been buffed accordingly to today's matchmaking. Now we have the T95E2, which is below average. I stated my points on that earlier. T92, probably average. A lot of people really like this tank. I'm not a huge fan. It's not an amazing light tank, and I think the thing that brings it down from decent to average, and why I definitely don't recommend buying it, because as a Tier 8 Premium, it's got horrible economy. For anybody who doesn't know, the T92 has some of the most expensive shells in the game. These heat rounds only do 150 average damage and cost 5,600 credits a pop. Okay? If we just pick another, like, I'll just pick a random tank, and I'm probably going to get screwed over and pick someone else with, like, really, really bad economy here, aren't I? I mean, I don't think this thing's even the best economy, but 4,400 credits for higher alpha and higher PEM. That was probably a really poor choice. Let's pick something that I know has got half decent economy. Let's go Patriot. Still not amazing, but it's... I'm completely screwing my own point here. But 150 average damage, 5,600 credits, like, that's just ridiculous. That's just unnecessary. It really is, and the tank isn't good enough all-round to compensate for that. The gun's okay. The camo to view range combination is really nice, so as a passive scout, it can actually play half decently, but it's just not great. ISU 152K, that is the ISU 152K, isn't it? Not the ISU 130, I'm not going to have egg on my face. Yes, it is. I mean... average. Bringing the BL10 back into Tier 8 was nice, but I hate to say it, I just can't recommend it. It's just... it's mounted to a turd of a tank. The armor's trash, the mobility's not great, view range is horrible, the gun arcs are horrible, like, you can't traverse the gun hardly at all, so if you get tracked, you're in trouble. The gun depression's shit. The aim time is horrible. The accuracy is horrible. Again, I know it's a BL10. It hits for 750. It has 286 standard pen, which is insane. But it's just the ISU with a BL10, but slightly nerfed. And back then, it was only because it was the troll cannon that it was even any good, so it's average at best. And the only thing it plays around is that 750 average damage. On to the Ruskies. How long are we into this video? 15 minutes. I reckon we can get the Russians done in 15 minutes. I reckon this is going to be a 3-part. You know what? It is going to be a 3-part. We'll keep going to the end now. T54 Mod 1. I'd say it's a good tank. It's got a good combination of gun, armor, and mobility. You actually have to aim at the tank with the armor. Like, it's very much... you can't just point and click. Sorry, have a sip of my coffee. The gun isn't amazing, but it's not terrible. The armor's good. The mobility's decent. It's a good all-round tank. IS-5, since the buffs, good tank in my opinion. It used to have 5 degrees of gun depression, which made it really, really terrible. Now it's got 7 degrees. It's really nice. Accuracy and aim time still horrible, but I do think they buffed it a bit. Fairly mobile tank, though. It's... actually, I'm going to put it in decent tank. My bad. It's probably top-end decent tank. It is very much a decent tank. Armor's not great. But the gun is decent. It's got the IS-3A's gun, but non-autoloader, so it's got APCR heat, which is really nice. 270 heat pen is absolutely lush. A really fast shell velocity on the standard rounds at 221 pen. It's a decent all-round tank, but yeah, definitely decent tank. I think I was a bit over-ambitious putting it in. Good tank. IS-3A, I'm going to say it's either top end of good or bad end of great. I'm going to put it in great. I think it's towards the bottom end of great, but it is a great tank. Like, where is it? It's next to this thing. Armor is an IS-3s, which in 2022... it's not amazing, I won't lie. The mobility is not amazing, but the gun is just insane. Like, the concept of the gun handling is terrible, the gun depression is terrible, but the concept of the gun, the reverse autoloader, you go into the game with the benefit of an autoloader. You've got a 3-shell clip to start, and then your gun is a normal IS-3's gun. That then, if you're out of an engagement, gets better because you have an autoloader again. It's ridiculous. It's a great tank in terms of that. I'd say towards the bottom end because basically everything else about the tank is absolute trash. Like, if they were introducing a reverse autoloader that has any kind of good gun stats or good mobility or anything like that, it would be OP. But it's a great tank. It's really good. T44-100 goes up in great tank as well. It's just a great all-rounder. In my opinion, not quite as good as the CS52 Lease, but only by a little bit. It's just a great all-round tank. I'm not going to say too much about this thing. It's just great all-round. Mobility, armor, gun, all-round good. KV-4 Kraslovsky. Decent tank. The armor's quite nice. It's quite troll. Again, I think it benefits from the rarity factor, although that is getting less because it's available for bonds. The gun is okay. There are better things, but there are also much worse things. Defender, or Object 252U, goes up in good tank. It's not a great tank anymore. It's too sluggish. It's too slow to be a great tank, in my opinion. The gun depression is shocking. The gun handling is shocking. Well, the gun depression is 6 degrees. People have learnt where to shoot it. People know to avoid it and then get round it, shoot it in the side. It's still nice. The 440 is still nice. The view range is trash. It's a good tank. It's probably a solid good tank. Solid to top tier of good tank. But I don't think it's a great tank anymore. That's just my opinion, but I genuinely don't think it's a great tank anymore. I really don't. Like, things like the 50 TP prototype. Yes, you sacrifice a little bit of armor, but you gain the gun depression, which is nice. And I think the Charlemagne is just a better tank. In my opinion. I'm voicing that. In my opinion. T103, I don't have the tank. I don't have enough of an opinion on the tank. I think it's, from what I've heard from people, it's decent to good. But I don't have it. I don't know really enough about it. STG, or the Guard, depending on which. Personally, I think it's actually a good tank. I have 3 marked the vehicle. I think it's a good tank. The 122 with good gun handling. Like, it is a 122 with good gun handling. 0.3 dispersion, 2.3 seconds aim time. The DPM is on the low side, but it's not horrific DPM. It's 2,200 still, which is still workable. It's not like some of these tanks I've been saying with like 1,600 DPM. It is definitely workable. The mobility is decent, not the most amazing. It's a very low profile tank as well. You can snipe with it. It has got good camo if you want to. It's a good tank. LT432, great tank. It's, in my opinion, it's the only other tier 8 light tank that even comes close to the EBR. I said that in part 1 of this video. It came as a surprise to absolutely nobody. Yeah. It's kind of like a medium tank. Armor. You shouldn't be talking about armor for a light tank, but I have to with the LT432. At times, it absolutely kicks ass. Like, you bounce off it and you go, well, how the fuck do I do that? It's a very low profile tank. The gun handling is really good. The DPM is really good. The gun itself is really good. It has speakable armor. And it's all round a good light tank, even if you don't play it. Even if you do play it as like a passive or a active light tank. So, yeah. all round very good. It's kind of light medium hybrid that kind of gets the best of both worlds. SU-130 PM. I fucking hate the tank. I wish it would get in the bin, but I can't put it and get in the bin. It's a good tank. It's a good sniper. I don't like the playstyle. 520 damage. Good heat pen. Not as good as the Scorpion, wherever I put the Scorpion up here, because it hasn't got a fully traversable turret, and that is one of the main reasons why. But it is a good tank. 703-2 goes up into great tank. I think this also is another reason that the Defender gets beaten down. It's a good tank, is this thing is a great tank and overtakes it. You basically play it as an auto reloader, kind of similar to an IS-3A. I'm actually thinking I might I'll bump the IS-3A down to good tank because of this thing. You play it like an auto reloader. You have 2 shells at the start of the game. You can then fire both, or you can fire one then the other, and then whenever you're out of an engagement, you've just got another shell, which is really nice. The armor is better than the IS-3As. I think the mobility is slightly better. It's just a better tank. So yeah, I can't put the IS-3A and the 703-2 on the same level. The IS-3A is definitely at the top of good tank, but I don't think it quite actually gets into great tank. That is the K91-2? No idea about it. It's not even released yet. Like, I can't put that into a tier. For argument's sake, I can't actually remember which is which. I might have put the ISU-130 in here. I actually think I have put the ISU-130 in here. So we're going to pretend that I didn't do that. We're going to swap those two over. But we'll say that that's the ISU-152K stands, and the ISU-130, I don't have the tank. I have absolutely no opinion, and I'm probably never going to get the tank, so it goes down here. A lot of these tanks now are going to go down here because I don't actually have them. Object 274A. I think it's a good tank. I think the lease is better, personally. It has better armor, but the gun is just objectively worse, in my opinion. So I think it goes in good tank. I don't think it goes in great. It's still a fairly good tank, 320 alpha. So many people, especially certain streamers, who I'm not going to say about, said this tank was going to be OP when it came in. I said I don't think it's going to be. And I'm pretty sure I was right. Like, it's just... I don't know why, it just doesn't feel amazing. I think it's the gun handling, soft stats kind of let it down a bit. The armor is decent, but not insane. DPM is really nice. Mobility is meh. Yeah, it's a good tank, but it's not great. It's not OP. KB5, it's got to go decent. I know, obviously, for the memes, it's OP. Even from RAM, it's OP. The hit points make it really decent. Preferential matchmaking, really nice. However, the armor, although it's good at times, and when people panic and shoot it, it's really good. Like, it's some of the heaviest armor in the game. It's just so many weak spots. R2-D2, Cupola 2.0, R2-D2 2.0. Flat front of the turret. Yeah, you can't not shoot it. The thing that makes this thing a decent tank is the fact that it's got really good DPM, combined with a massive amount of hit points. Like, in the right setup, I think it's like 2,000 HP. Yeah, 2,020 HP I've got on mine. With, like, really good DPM. However, gun handling, not amazing, and the pen is absolute trash. Obviously, you do never have to meet tier 10s, but yeah, it's just... The KB5's a decent tank. It's a fun tank to play. This is the thing with all of these tanks. Some of them are really fun, like the ISU, for example. Fun tank to play because you slap people. It's quite funny, but it's not a good tank. KB5, really, really, really fun tank to play. It's not necessarily a good tank. IS6 is a good tank, in my opinion. I think it's better than since the buffs, it's better than the 112 and WZ-111. It still gets the preferential matchmaking. The gun is kind of the letdown, but the armor now is really, really nice. And the mobility is also really nice. Have 3 mark the tank. Felt fairly competitive the whole time. Like, felt really decent. So, yeah, it goes up in there. Next, Skoda T56. Probably the last one that shoots straight up into OP. See my previous published work for my opinion on this tank. It's just so good, man. It's just so good. So good. and a lot more forgiving than the other two OP tanks, in my opinion. Like, in my opinion, the other two OP tanks in this list, if you gave them to poor players, they're probably not going to play them OP, but the Skoda C56, I think, even in the hands of a relatively poor player, as long as he roughly knows how to play the tank, and that is roughly knows, he's still going to do insane damage in it. 2-shell autoloader strikes again, this time doing almost 1,000 damage per clip, and you've got a bit of armor to be forgiving, and hit points, and yeah, you do have to build into it a bit with the right equipment, but it is just OP. I don't think anybody's going to argue with that for me. AMX-30AP, never got it, don't know enough about it. Saw him loads when it first came out, haven't really seen a huge amount since, so I would probably say it's average to decent, but I don't know. This thing hasn't been released yet. I think that's the WZ-113-2, so that hasn't been released yet. The Astron Rex, I think it's a good tank. In my opinion, I haven't got the vehicle, so again, like, it's one of those I don't actually really know for certain, so it's got a bit more, like, you know, leeway on whichever way it goes. Oh, I missed it? Oh, is that? Stupid. And that's 4-shell autoloader, 320. No, 5-shell autoloader, sorry. Yeah, 5-shell, sorry, with 4 seconds between shells. That's what I was thinking. So it does a huge amount of damage. 4 seconds between shells, so kind of Caro-esque. I think it's fairly mobile. No, it's actually not that mobile. View range. Horrific accuracy, but good aim time. Okay, I'm going to say it's a decent tank. I don't have the vehicle, so it can move up and down. It's been released more recently, so I did kind of have a look at the stats, and I have heard people's opinions on the vehicle. So I'm going to put it in decent, maybe to good, maybe even average, but that's where it's going, just because I don't want to put too many in my opinion. Tornvang, decent. Not a great tank. Not a great tank for the game, or it's not a great tank to play or to play against, is what I say. It's a fairly boring tank to play. It's relatively slow. You rely on the big old 400 Alpha. It is a better T34 in my opinion, but it's still just... Oh, I can't even find it. No, there you go. The turret is impenetrable. The gun is nice. Like, it has really good pen and stuff. 10 degrees gun depression. Accuracy is horrible. DPM is horrible. Like, you just sit there for so long. And it's horrible to play against because you can't pen it. But it doesn't kill you that fast. So you just kind of sat there just... Yeah. It's decent. It's better than the T34, but it's still a bad tank to play. Bad tank to play against. Caliban, I have to stick it in decent. It's probably one of the most fun tanks to play in the game. However, it's obviously the gun stats are horrific. It's so funny when it hits, but the DPM is horrific. The mobility is decent. The armor's not. So it has to go in decent tank. This is probably one of the only tanks that actually gets influenced by the fun factor, because it's probably just as a tank, it's probably below average. Yes, you can have really good games in it, but maybe average to below average, but the fun factor puts it up a little bit. Definitely a decent tank. M4Y, I would say good tank. It's not as good as the Renegade in my opinion. It's just a worse Renegade, so if you have the option of buying the two, I would definitely say get the Renegade. But all in all, it's a decent tank. The turret armor's okay. It has got a bit of a cupola. 360 Alpha's quite nice. It's good all round, pretty much. AMBT, I think that is. This is an issue with some of these. I think, to be fair, all of the rest of the tanks are going in the no opinion. AMBT, I don't have an opinion on. Where is that, the AMBT? Are they the same tanks? I think they're the same tanks. To be fair, I don't have any opinion on the rest of these vehicles. I think that's the Czechoslovakian tank destroyer. I think one of these two is it one of the, it's a new object. Okay, I may be wrong with that. I honestly don't know. One of them might be I think one of them is the Kurovets. I think this one's the Kurovets. This is something. I don't know. And yeah, so they all have absolutely no opinion. But yeah, there we go. I think that's pretty much... I can't think of any that are now that we've got to the end are glaring at me going, yeah, this is wrong. I mean, we've got, it looks like a fairly decent list. Like, the majority of tanks are around the middle. A couple at the top, couple towards the bottom. You know, I think that's a fairly good list. Obviously, we had a couple of mistakes in the middle with certain tanks being unrecognized because I don't have the names of the vehicles. And also, obviously, have the slight technical problems at the end of the second video. But for some reason, whatever, they seem to work themselves out for this video. So yeah, that is my tier list for tier 8 premium tanks in World of Tanks as of the end of February 2022. I hope you have enjoyed the video, guys. If you would make any changes, please do let me know in the comments. If you've liked the video, make sure you give it a like. If you haven't checked out the other 2 videos in this series, then make sure you go do that. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, give the video a like, notifications, etc., etc. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.